G'day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video I wanted to talk just a little bit about the concept of Dragonriding and whether it has impacted the game's flying mechanism permanently, negatively, and just kind of discuss the future for this mechanism or for transportation or traversal in World of Warcraft in general. So obviously, just while we discuss, let's just look at a comparison of the two. So Dragonriding for 1,300 yards, you can notice firstly that there are button presses. This is to create a more immersive experience. You can manage the flight speed along with the stopping speed, as well as the altitude, the ascension, and quite a few different various mechanics. You also notice it's quite substantially faster than flying. Now, flying, on the other hand, is a far more, let's say, relaxing experience. And just the sheer kind of floaty feel to it gives it a far more distinct, let's say, relaxation about it. Now, obviously, for me, flying does have its benefits. We'll talk about the pros and cons of both, but flying came around at a time, and flying has always been something that I think has been both good and bad in World of Warcraft. A lot of people dislike it because it was kind of a way to not navigate the beautiful crafted world of World of Warcraft. But in reality, flying is something that's always been great, and when implemented correctly, looks fantastic in World of Warcraft. The zones have always been traditionally big, and being able to traverse these zones in a variety of ways is always going to be a positive experience. So let's talk about flying. So flying has a couple pros to it. The slower pace means that you can have a different build to your world. Sometimes the bullet train express experience that is dragon flying makes the world, although constructed well, feel like point A to point B. You can kind of zip through and do everything as quickly as you want. This can hinder the world's immersion slightly. There's more mount variety because the mechanics are uniform across mounts, so all the mounts technically can kind of do their thing, and of course the mechanic is less complicated. It's very easy to just integrate flying pretty much across all the zones because all you have to do is give the ability for them to levitate in the air. Simple progression as well. Most times it was gold. Previously it's been achievements as well, but generally speaking there's been no other mechanism to it. So either it's get the achievements or get the gold. Now the cons, of course, are, well, con with question mark is it's slower. I debate whether this is a con or a pro on either side, and I want to more focus around the other benefits than the actual pace of the mechanism. Personally, I feel flying means that we'll have less altitude to environments, although Ice Crown and Wrath of the Lich King in general is a fantastic display of the team's world building design. Ascending and descending is a pain while using flying. The actual act of flying is also less immersive. Most players, as you know, will numlock and just go in a straight line. It's the crow flies kind of mechanism. And it's a less advanced foundation. Things like ground mounts, ground traversal, different types of flying traversal, water traversal, all can't really occur in any unique kind of way if we maintain the same status quo of this very basic flying mechanism. Now, Dragonriding, so faster, again with a question mark, but it is a more immersive mechanic. Kind of piggybacking off of what I just said, it's definitely far more immersive to work with Dragonriding skills. It's a better foundation for future travel mechanisms. Imagine ground mounts with a sprint mechanic or with a hop mechanic. These things could be implemented based off of how well Dragonriding's been received. The customization factor to it is very cool, and technically speaking, if they focus on less mounts and less reskins due to them implementing a better mechanic every expansion for traversal, this could mean better quality in the mounts. I think the dragons themselves have a very good amount of customization, although everyone is running the same mounts, and we will kind of talk about that a little bit under the cons sections. So, talking about that customization, it does kind of devalue previous mounts. For example, if you were to introduce Dragonriding to the rest of Azeroth, but not make it available to other mounts, then immediately all of those mounts lose value. Even in Dragon Reach or Dragonflight and the Forbidden Reach, apologies, and the Dragon Isles, all other mounts are just kind of devalued. If you can't Dragon Ride, it's not really worth the time. I myself have collected quite a few really nice ground mounts and just have not managed to use them because the pain of using them is too great. Then we have the whole express train versus steam train argument, and obviously the fact that this could very much minimize the world. The ability to traverse larger spaces in a shorter amount of time will always mean that no matter how big the zones they make, it will always feel smaller than the vastness of places like Icecrown Citadel. Now, of course, that's just kind of a brief touch on all of these things, but realistically, what do I think Blizzard should do? Well, I like to use Dragon Races as an example and just kind of piggyback off of that, but I think Dragon Riding as a mechanic should be looked at being implemented across the rest of Azeroth. The reason I speak for this is because it can create additional content. Imagine having Dragon Races in every other region of Azeroth. Could be something distinctly interesting. I think as well, you don't need to implement every unit to have Dragon Riding. I understand that that can be difficult, but I think to rather allow people the option is always good. Yes, it will devalue other mounts, but to hinder the progress of the game and its traversal mechanics, because we don't want to devalue mounts from, decades ago, could in the long run be detrimental to the game. Imagine being able to build on all of these traversal mechanisms and have them exist throughout Azeroth. Dragon riding, ground mount sprinting, aquatic traversal. You could give helicopter-based mounts a different form of aerial flight capacity. I think overall there's far more to gain from implementing dragon riding as a mechanic throughout Azeroth than there is by holding it back. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. I think it would be super interesting, and yeah, that's obviously just my thoughts. Now, not saying it's correct and not saying it's wrong, but I just like to give my opinion. But I'd love to hear what you guys say in the comments and how you think dragon riding will impact Azeroth going forward. But until then, bye.